Welcome to the Badass American Heroes podcast. Coming at you now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Badass American Heroes podcast. I am your host, Brandon. This is the Badass American Heroes podcast. I am fucking fired up to be here with you guys. It's been a long time since I've been back. We've had some things going on. We've had a swap cast with Blake from the Noise Pollution podcast and Josh Jeans from Led by Iron. But now I'm back here doing what I love, and that is bringing you guys a bi-weekly podcast that dives deep into the lives of America's service members to learn about their lives and dive into their stories of sacrifice, of courage, of dedication to duty and commitment, and all the great characteristics that you think of when you think of the American service member. That's what we're here for, to collect those stories from active duty and prior service and veterans of the United States military, and help them make sure that their stories are saved for future generations, that we collect their lessons learned, that we learn about their lives and why they decided to serve, and what they did during their service, what they did after their service, things they would do different, things they would do the same, so that we can learn as humanity, as humankind, from these people, and hopefully continue to better ourselves, and so that the next generation can learn about the things that the great people of the United States military have done. And it's a big mission for me, and it's one that I take seriously, and that's why I'm excited to have the guest that I've got with me tonight. He's a badass dude. He is my first Navy person that I've had on the show with me. I've had just about every other branch. I've had Marines and Army and Air Force. I haven't had Coast Guard yet, and I've got a Navy guy now, so we're getting there. But I've got with me tonight Charles Chuck Mund, who is still currently serving in the U.S. Navy. He's going on 13 years of service. He's a Chief Petty Officer in the Navy, and he is a great dude, and he does a lot of things for the military community, for the veteran community, on the entrepreneurial side, helping people discover unique ways to make their businesses grow and expand, and helping them out. So we've got a lot of great things that we're going to talk to Chuck about tonight. So I can't wait to get into it. Before we jump into the interview, though, with Chuck Mund, we've got a couple other things to talk about. So you guys may have noticed it's been about a month since you guys have heard my beautiful, angelic, some would say, voice in your ears, and I apologize for that. This podcast is important, but I'm also a dad, and I've got kids, and I've got work, and I've got other things, so it doesn't always come out exactly when I want it to. But I tried to make up for it with the swap cast with my boy and little bestie Blake from the Noise Pollution podcast. Him and I did our monthly swap cast, and we had Josh Jeans, who is a firefighter and a huge supporter of the first responder community. We had him on the show. He is a co-owner of Led by Iron Clothing, and Josh is a great dude. We had a great show. It was our first video show on YouTube. So if you're a YouTuber, you can go check that out, and you can actually see me and Blake, and you can watch as we have our conversation with Josh Jeans, co-owner of Led by Iron Apparel. That was a great show. So go check that out. You can see it on YouTube. You can also get it on all the normal channels, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all those things. So there's that. Also, guys, if you haven't left a review yet on iTunes, I don't know what the fuck you're waiting for, honestly. Go do it. Leave a 5-star review, man. Don't be the dick that goes in there and is like, 4 stars because Brandon uses too much profanity. Fuck you, okay? Go leave a great 5-star review. I'm just kidding, guys. Go leave a 5-star review. Let me know what you think. Honestly, if it's a 4-star, let me know what you think. Let me know what I can improve on. That's how we get better. That's how we grow. So give me some feedback. Also, subscribe to the show on iTunes, man. When it comes out, you're the first to know. You got it. Boom. You just look at your phone. You're like, oh, shit, Badass American Heroes. Let's see what's going on. And it's right there. No hassle, no worries. You can just pop it in, play it, and listen. So do that. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're on all the social media channels and stuff. Instagram and Facebook are the big ones that I've got for this podcast. So make sure you do that. Also, go check out Blake from the Noise Pollution Podcast. He's got a great show that he does. Him and I are beef fries in real life and in the podcast life. Blake's a great guy. He's taught me everything I know about podcasting and is just an all-around good dude. So make sure you check out his podcast and check out our swapcast that we do once a month. And those are going to be video format now as well, so you can see our beautiful faces. Go check those out. Guys, without any further ado, I've got with me Chief Petty Officer Charles Chuck Mund, United States Navy. Let's fucking go. Hey everybody, welcome back, Badass American Heroes. I'm here with my special guest tonight. I've got a guy who is going to blow you away. My first Navy vet. I've had Army, I've had Marine, I've had Air Force. Now I've got a Navy guy on tonight. Tonight I've got with me Charles Chuck Mund. He is still active duty Navy, 13 years. He is a Chief Petty Officer. He's doing a lot of work to help veterans transition when they get out of the military. He's got a lot of projects going on. He is a partner with Pitch and Rudder. He also works with Forward to Glory for transitioning active duty soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors, Coast Guardies, all of that while they do their transition into the civilian sector. So he's got his fingers in a lot of things that we're going to get to hear all about. Chuck, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going freaking-tastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad that we were able to get hooked up and get on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And, we talked just real briefly before we came on to the podcast, and it kind of seems like we both have this passion for helping guys transition so that they don't do the same stupid fucked up shit that I did. And so I'm excited to get to talk about that and get to dive into your life because in the bio that you sent me, man, you didn't have kind of the normal childhood, the kind of normal path to the military that other people might have had. Your path was kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You had a pretty rough childhood.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah. So, we're going to get into it because I know you're not the only one out there that's had that. But we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. So, man, real quick, give us your real fast bio, and then we're going to dive in deep.
Okay. All right. Well, real quick, I'm a father of three. I'm 32 years old. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. I'm a huge Green Bay Packer fan, so go Pack go. I joined the military at 18 years old. First real good thing I ever really did with my life. And kind of took it from there. Childhood was, built on my own mistakes and learning from them. I know there's a lot of people out there like that, but I was definitely one of them that, decided to take the most difficult road I could possibly take, and, get through my life that way. It wasn't always the smartest thing to do. That's for damn sure. But, learn from all my mistakes, joined the military again at 18 and, kind of went from there. And I've been blessed right now, with three beautiful kids, a great place that I'm in right now with the military. After serving 13 years, I picked up Chief Petty Officer last year, which was a huge accomplishment for me, at 12 years to be able to put on the anchors. And then, just at that time, definitely started looking at where I was in my life and made some decisions on the business end and became a partner with Pitch and Rudder, and also started a group called Forward to Glory. I also have another side business with advertising. I call it JAB Advertising. We just try to help out people the best we can with Facebook ads and, Facebook pixels and all that good stuff. But call it I call it JAB advertising for the name for my three kids, which is Jordan, Aubrey, Braden. So yeah, I have two girls, 12 and 11, and my son is 7 years old. And they're definitely the motivation for everything that I do right now.
Awesome, man. It sounds awesome. So, let's dive into your life. Where did you grow up? Kind of what was your life like growing up as a
Um,
kid?
okay. Well, originally, I was born in Waukesha, Wisconsin, in the same place J.J. Watt was born. I don't know if there's any football fans out there, but that's the only claim to fame I think Waukesha, Wisconsin, really really fucking has.
Hey, that's a
So
pretty good claim to fame. He's a pretty good football
it.
player.
Oh yeah, one hell of a football player, and he's corn fed. He's a Wisconsin boy, kind of like me. Definitely a lot bigger than I am. So never could make it that make football something more than what it was for me. But no, born in Waukesha in 1986. Then we had a house on the lake in Muckwonago, Wisconsin. I lived there, of course, with my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, my younger brother Ben, um, and then my mother and father, Tom and Jerry, which is funny enough.
That
Yeah.
is pretty
So,
funny. Yeah.
so dad's name's Tom, mom's name's Jerry. Yes, we got all the cat and mouse, jokes going already. But no, I lived there. Had a pretty cool life, man, for the most part, up until I turned 8. Because I loved living on the lake. I fished all the time. It was freshwater fishing. Um, we could always play with the frogs and the toads and stuff right there, and it was just it was an awesome experience as a kid. But at 8 years old, my parents decided to divorce. And I won't go too deep into that, but it was very difficult on my family. My father cheated on my mother and left her for who was the maid of honor at their wedding.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I mean, everything happens for a reason, and I'll just make it clear from the get go. He's still with my stepmom to this day. They've been married now for years, and it worked out for them. But at the time, it was very difficult. We had to uproot the family. My father decided to take a job in Madison, Wisconsin. And we moved from, having that awesome house on the lake and, a life and everything. And then we moved into, the apartment complexes in Madison, Wisconsin on the east side, which isn't always the nicest. I mean, it is Madison, so it's not truly comparable to, some of the bigger cities like, Milwaukee and stuff, which is where predominantly my whole family's from, or, like Chicago. But the east side of Madison, definitely has its areas, and that's where we moved. We didn't have a lot of money to begin with, too, starting over. So it was really difficult, and going back and forth from my parents' houses. My brother and we would have to, do the Monday and Tuesday with my dad, Wednesday, Thursday with my mom, and then switch off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we got switched around a lot, and that was pretty difficult. My mother too at that time, I think it was about when I was 10 or 11 years old. She was diagnosed with a extremely rare disease, and it made things a lot more difficult for her, and just how everything happened. My mom took it very difficult, took it really hard, and it made life very difficult for her. So yeah, she was diagnosed with dermatomyositis, which is a form of I believe it's MS. So it's still to this day something that she works on. I mean, she still takes about 30 to 40 different pills every single day,
Oof.
just to keep going. But all of this stuff kind of wrapped up into me, and it made me kind of a very difficult person to be around. I was very funny, and I had a lot of, charisma, and, I was always the class clown. I'm sure anybody that knew me back then would definitely, swear onto that. But I didn't really care so much about anything else. I liked making people laugh. I liked having fun. But when it came to studying, or when it came to doing homework, or it came to doing anything of value, I didn't do it. I didn't care, and it showed as it got worse too, and I got into drugs. I got really heavy into drugs there for a while, and thank God, I started to realize what was happening around me, and made the decision to get in the military, because God knows where I'd be today with that.
About how old were you when you started to kind of get kind of harder into drugs? Like high school age?
Yeah, I was about 13, 14 years old. And it got pretty bad, I never did anything like wild, crazy drug life kind of stuff. It was on the lower end. I don't think I got to go into the types of drugs and everything, but I mean, they were there, and it made me just even more difficult to deal with, I'm sure, than I already was, because of just being angry about everything. So it was about, I think it was about when I was 15 years old. So it got so bad, and to the point that my father and my mother gave me an option, and they said, Chuck, you can either go to jail, and we're going to take you in, because we have enough to do that. And that wouldn't have been the first time that I've been to jail. But you can either do that, or we can send you to military school. If you want to do that, we'll do that. So you make the choice. And, I kind of fucking threw my hand out there. I was like, hey, I'll take military school for $500, Alex.
Yeah.
I'll take that any day of the week. But no, I then went to military school. I went to St. John's Northwestern Military Academy, and it's right there in Delafield, Wisconsin, which is in between Milwaukee and Madison. It was about like a 45-minute drive from Madison. And I went to military school, and that was life-changing. That was huge. I ended up only going for 1 year. Well, one semester, or half year.
Hold on, let me pause you real quick. So military school, was that like a high school military school, or like a college military academy type thing?
Oh no, it was a high school military school. Yeah, that you left home and you lived in the barracks, and it was a full on military school. It was no fucking joke, man. And it's funny sometimes too, because it goes from eighth. It used to, when I went there, it went from 8th grade all the way up to 12th grade, as a senior in high school, and they're all boys. And I was kind of getting into it there a second ago, but it's so funny, because sometimes I look at what happened in military school, and I feel like the military that I joined and am still in is less military than that military school was. I'm not shitting you at all. It's crazy. Because it was wild, man. I mean, it was early 2000, and I mean, when I got there, I was just pushed into a whole different lifestyle. It was honestly going through boot camp for 6 months. That's exactly what it was. It was nonstop. Uniform needed to be right. Stuff needed to be stowed correctly. You couldn't fucking do anything outside of the grounds without a permission slip and someone taking you and all this types of shit. I mean, it was crazy. It was wild. But that definitely put the military mindset in my mind. So like when I left military school, my goal at that point was to, no matter what happened, was to join the military. And my original thought was that I was going to be a Marine or an Army Ranger. That was my original thought of what I was going to do. But anyways, so I did my time in military school, and then got back to high school. I played football throughout my whole high school career too. Loved playing football. Still love playing football. And had some scholarships going for me too for a little while there. at the who was it? It was Penn State. I think it was Iowa that was looking at me, but they were all looking at me for playing rugby at the time.
Okay.
Which wasn't something that I wanted to do. I liked playing rugby, and I played rugby for St. John's because they didn't have a football team, but it wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of. And then even if I wanted to, by the time I got 16, 17 years old, high school was becoming, completing high school was becoming an improbability at that point. There wasn't a way I was going to make it out and graduate from high school. I was lucky enough to get into a work and learn program when I was 17, which is, exactly what it sounds like. You work during the day or at night. It just depends on the semester. And then you go to school the other half. So you have to have a job. You have to be learning a trade. You have to be helping out the community, and you have to be doing schoolwork. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have graduated high school when I did. I actually graduated high school 6 months after everybody else that, was in my graduating class did. Still got a diploma, still got it from my original high school, East High School in Madison, Wisconsin. But, I was lucky that, I actually put my nose to the grindstone after coming back from military school and, putting in the effort to graduate high school. And after that, I moved out of my house, out of my parents' house when I was 16 years old, and, decided to shack up with my girlfriend who would become my first wife. And, that I had to be the man of the house with, five or six grown black females. And I was the one white dude. Yeah. It was crazy, but I love them all to death, still do. But yeah, then I got to about 17 and a half and knew that, if I didn't make a change, I didn't do something different with my life, then I was either going to die or I was going to be in jail. And I knew that was what it was going to be, because people around me were starting to die. People around me were really starting to do hard time. Like I knew of a couple of guys that, just really good friends of mine too, that decided to run up in a guy's house and beat the shit out of him. And they gave them fucking 2 years in jail apiece, and like, I was like 6 minutes away from following them. Shit. The night I met my wife, my first wife, I robbed a guy.
Wow.
And I mean, no shit. I left where we were, and a bunch of my buddies and I, after we got done robbing this guy, we went and met to a buddy's house, and she was there, and I met her, and from there it led on to what it was. But I knew that's where it was going, so I made the choice, after really thinking about what I wanted to do, because I got out of military school and I knew I wanted to join the military, and I thought the Army or the Marines or one of those guys was going to be where I was going to go. But, I always had this feeling that the Navy had something for me, because my father was in the Navy. My father served on the USS Ranger during Vietnam. And he was a boilerman, in the belly of the fucking beast, and, would always tell me stories about, the sailing life and things that happened to him and how he, got through his Navy career. He only ended up serving 4 years, but getting his full college ride and, everything paid for.
Yeah.
But, served his country during wartime. So that's really all you can ask for from somebody, I think.
So at this point, you're starting to consider, you're starting to see a bad future ahead of yourself if you don't make a big change. And, I grew up in Southern California, pretty close to LA, and
SoCal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had friends that had kind of the same path where, they were starting to get mixed up in bad deals, and it was okay, how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
And, you were smart enough to see, okay, the military here is a great option.
Mm-hmm.
Besides your dad's experience in the Navy, was there anything else that really pushed you that way? Were they offering like any better benefit, like bonuses or a certain program that you were interested in, or was it just kind of following in
Yeah.
Pop's footsteps?
No. Well, a lot of it again strung from me being in the military school.
Yeah.
So the military life and the feeling, and I mean, I can't stress it enough that military school at that time was like 10 times. Like when I went to Navy boot camp in 2005, I remember going through it with smiles on my face. There was parts of it that was, yes, very difficult. The Navy does not make it easy on anybody, any recruit trying to become, a Navy sailor. But because I went to military school, like that really changed like how I did everything, and everything when I got to boot camp was so easy.
There's a
Like,
Navy joke in there somewhere. I'm just not going to make it.
Oh, please don't. Like we got enough, man. No, I'm kidding. No, it's funny though that you say that, because my original goal when I joined the Navy was to become a pilot. That was the original goal. I loved, I still love flying. I don't do anything, professionally or personally, just being in an aircraft. I loved that when I was a kid, and I actually lived right next to an airport as a child too. So it was always a dream of mine and something that I wanted to, do in the Navy. And it's funny that you say this stuff too. So when I went in, and you go to the recruiter, and then they make you take a test for, of course it's the ASVAB.
Yeah.
But when you're in the recruiting office, we had to take a test, and it was like a pre-ASVAB. And it's so funny. So like, well, that's where they kind of gauged us, like where we could potentially be, like where our ASVAB score could potentially be locked in at when we got to MEPS, so they could plan out a route for us prior to going to MEPS. It was that kind of thing. And it was the DEP program, the delayed entry program. So, I mean, I took the test in Madison and scored like a 90 on that shit. So the guy was like, fucking, yes, awesome. You get to be a nuclear guy, or you get to fucking do this, or you can do anything you want. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. Like that's swell. And then, we actually go to MEPS, and I scored a fucking 66. And the guy's like, what the fuck happened? And I'm like, I don't know. I was high when I took the other test at your office, and apparently it makes me, I don't know. Like, that's what I told him. I don't know what to tell you. But no, I asked him to get as close as I could to an aircraft, and hopefully, be a pilot and go that route. That didn't pan out for me because of some things that happened with my ex-wife. I don't know how much I'll get into that, but that's what spawned.
You can say whatever you want about it, but I mean, we'll get there.
Oh yeah, well, but that's the kind of stuff that spawned my interest, and really a want to be in the military. And I love my country. A lot. It's funny, and we talk about it to this day. Right now, we actually brought it up last week. These people that are coming in right now are the first people that weren't alive when September 11th happened in 2001. Crazy. You know what I'm saying? How fucking nuts is that? Like, these people that are coming into the Navy right now were not alive when that happened. And that's kind of mind boggling to me. It makes me feel a little old, but whatever. I'm 32. I still look good naked. So that's all I care about.
Those are the important things in life.
That's for real. That's the important shit. But, no, September 11th and seeing all of that, being in high school, I remember, like, I'm sure you do, and I'm sure, thousands of millions of other people remember that day, that when it happened, how you heard, where you were when you heard it. And that, spawned from, military parents, the military school and all. Like, it was just what I knew what I wanted. And I knew I wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge. So military was the way.
What year was it when you decided to join the military?
2004. 2004 was when I signed the paperwork. I think it was in, I want to say it was September, October, November timeframe in 2004. But I didn't actually get shipped off to RTC in Chicago until April of 2005.
Okay, and how old are you at this time?
Oh, I was 18 years old.
Okay, so you're 18.
Yeah, and what's funny about that too is so uh, April 2005 was a huge month in my life. So April 1st was the day I found out my daughter was coming into the world. And it's really difficult when you make that phone call on April 1st and you're calling your parents, you're calling your friends. You're like, hey, Dad, yeah, I'm having a baby. And he's like, hey, fuck you, April Fools, you know? And it's like, no, no, bro. No, I'm having a baby and you're the grandfather, you know, that kind of shit. So yeah, found out April 1st, my daughter was coming. April 8th, was the day I got married. And then, to her, of course, not forcefully at all. You know, her father made it really, he only twisted my arm so much, literally, to bring me to the courthouse to get married. But, no, he was awesome. Jimmy Edison, wonderful guy. Anyways, and then April 18th, I was on my way to boot camp. So yeah, that was April 2005 for me.
So April 2005, man. Woo! What a month.
Yeah, life changing.
What is it like when you get to, boot camp for the Navy? Obviously, it's not a huge shock for you because you spent time in military school. Mm-hmm. Is it still something, though, where you're like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting, this is what I was expecting, or were you just like, hey, man, I could do this all day?
It's kind of a mixture of all of that. There were definitely parts of it. I'm a great swimmer. Always have been. My dad always took me every Tuesday to the YMCA. Every Tuesday I was at his house. We would go to the YMCA and I would learn how to swim better. And he's a great grandfather, by the way. He does the same thing with my daughters in Wisconsin. So love him for that. Anyways, but that part of the Navy was very easy for me. There was a lot of people that actually struggle when they get to Navy fucking boot camp that don't know how to swim. Ironically enough, there was other things, like making your rack, standing in formation, doing the facing movements. All of that kind of shit was so easy to me because I had already done it. So I was actually helping out other people. And, kind of got put in charge of everybody there for a little while before I got fired for doing something. I don't know. But, yeah, no, but there were parts of it, because all of that shit had happened to me, that month in April, leaving that and then not being able to, be there for my wife, not being there for, feeling my daughter kick for the first time, and being 18 years old, especially not being able to smoke cigarettes, not being able to, do all that stuff. Yeah, that was difficult for me. And, I made it through first time up, there's a lot of people that get, ASMO'd is what it's called when you get sent back, from, a certain point in boot camp, they get ASMO'd back to the beginning. There's a lot of people that do that. I wasn't one of them. So thank God for that. But, no, it was definitely a mixture of all of it, but it was mind blowing to actually be a part of it. And, that there's this thing that they do, the final week, which is, the last test, for you to become a sailor. And then that last night that they put you through all of this stuff and they keep you up all night long. And, I think it's called battle stations. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
And they put you through it. And it was, man, it was crazy when they change your ball cap, which is what they do. That's the big part of the ceremony at that time. That's what it was. And, you're standing in this room and it's like an octagon shaped room, with levels, that you're staring at everybody else that went through the boot camp with you. And, you got your recruit ball cap on, and then they just start playing music, and you've been up for a day and a half, and then they come around and they change your ball cap from recruit to Navy, and you're in there, and that, like, it still gives me chills to this day thinking about it.
So what was the job that you ended up picking when you went into the Navy?
So what I wanted to do again was, get as close as I could to aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
I love planes. I love them breaking gravities, rolls, everything. I love it. So I ended up becoming an aviation maintenance administration, which is pretty much record keeper, logbook manager, system generating type person. So I didn't even know what that meant, because I was in MEPS and I was like, which ones get me closest to an aircraft? Because they rattled off, for you, it would be like 10 MOSs,
Yeah.
at once. And I'm like, fucking, what the hell? I don't know which one is the closest to the aircraft? Like, that's all I want. Put me there. And they were like, okay, we have this one. I was like, cool, give me that. Didn't really think about it twice, honestly, because, that wasn't the end all goal. It wasn't. And, from boot camp, I ended up going to Meridian, Mississippi for 2 months. That's where I did my A school to learn my job, to be an aviation maintenance administrator. And then from there, went directly to Jacksonville, Florida, and went to NAS Jacksonville and got with the Fleet Readiness Center Southeast there. And I worked there for 2 years. And in that time, man, that's when some crazy shit started happening.
Yeah. So walk us through that crazy shit that starts happening.
Yeah, well, my my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, she of course had my child there in Jacksonville in November 26th, 2005. And then 3 months later, got pregnant again. She had my second child, Aubrey, December 26th, 2006. Couple of months after that, and that was crazy, man. I don't know how to explain it, but being 19 years old with 2 kids and a wife and being in the military, it was insane. I'm not gonna downplay it at all. It was fucking nuts. And then that was a great motivator at the time too, because I don't know what motivates certain people, out there in the military nowadays. I don't. If it's something inside of them that wants to be great or whatever, my motivation was my children. And at 19 years old, I had all of this responsibility. I had so much responsibility, and it made me really great, which I kind of learned about myself during that time period, is when I'm put into certain circumstances and I'm given one way out, I'm going to make that way work. And that's what it did for me. The only problem, and yeah, this is where it gets tough. So the only problem was, right after I put on third class petty officer, I was 20 years old, and I was having a little shindig at my house because I lived on base housing in Jacksonville, Florida. So I was having a little shindig at my house, had a couple of friends over, and my ex-wife was there, of course, and my 2 daughters were in the bedroom, and we were just sitting around, having some drinks, getting fucked up. I really wasn't even drinking that much, but my ex-wife she was drinking hard. She had a real problem with being away from her family. She's very family oriented, which is not a bad thing at all. But when you're a military spouse, that can be really difficult for them, because you don't know when you're going to see them, you don't know how you're going to see them, whatever. So anyways, yeah, that night she decided to get really messed up, and I don't know how she got that messed up, but she got to the point where she was going to take my kids and put them in the car and drive away. And me, being the person that I am, I was like, yeah, fucking right. You and what army is going to fucking make this happen? Because you're not leaving this house. These kids are definitely not leaving this house. So pick another option. She didn't pick another option. She decided to start punching me and biting me and, just hitting me all over the fucking place for a good 5-6 minutes as I stood in the doorway, stopping her from going anywhere. And I didn't know what to do because, I again never been put into a situation like this. I was still 20 years old. I was scared. I was upset. I was angry because there was no way I was going to put hands, on my wife at all. As a military person in the first place and a man, that's just something I would never do. So she just kept hitting me and doing all that. And I got to the breaking point that I was like, you know what? I need to call somebody. So I decided to call my LPO, who's a leading petty officer, for my division, and hit him up and said, hey man, I don't know what to do. This is, I gave him the same spiel I just gave you. This is what's going on. And he's like, okay, well, call the cops. I said, okay, great idea. And I called the cops. So the cops came over to the house. They pulled up 3 cars deep, on base housing and everything. Everybody was there watching. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and kids were still sleeping in bed, thank God. Cops came up to the house. I gave them the rundown, said, hey, my wife's been drunk for hours now. I've been trying to control her. You can see what she's done to me. Like, I had bruises all over my body, and, bite marks and all types of shit. And they're like, oh, okay, well, have you been drinking? And I said, yeah, I've had like 2 beers, and I'm completely coherent. Any question you have, I got you. And they're like, no, you're 20 years old, you can't drink. So they said, you need to get in the car, and we're taking you in. She's gonna have to stay here with your friends. And at that point, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen next, because drinking's been, and it's happened more and more since I've been in the military, since I've been in the Navy, because Navy has this big stigma of being a bunch of drunk alcoholics in the fucking first place. You know what I mean? So, and this was 11 years ago. And, they were still going hard on it, not as hard as they do now, but I thought my career was over. I thought, everything was going to go wrong. And I couldn't believe that I was trying to do the right thing, and I'm the one getting taken away, so they ended up taking me away, and I went to the processing office on base. They took pictures of me, all that shit. And they took me back to the house, but of course the command was there. They knew about it. And end result was I ended up going to Captain's Mass, which is, our UCMJ. Got charged with Article, 134, which is, disobeying a lawful order. And I ended up getting my rank taken away from me. And I got all of the things that I had been working for taken away from me too, because I spent the past 2 years getting ready to become a pilot. I was getting accepted into the Seaman Admiral program, which is the quickest way for anybody to go get a college degree, and the Navy pays for everything. And then you can go become a pilot, or you can go become a naval officer, NFO, a bunch of different types of ways to go about that. But that's where shit kind of just made life even harder. And, I did it myself. And that was the hard part of that. And, from there, I definitely took that in stride, because I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. Everything that I had worked for had been taken out from underneath me. But my kids and my personal ambition of wanting to be great and do stuff with my life kept me in the military. And, I was able to, go to HS3, which is a helicopter squadron down there in Florida. Did did a deployment with the USS Theodore Roosevelt CVN 71 in 2008, 2009. Went all over the world. I actually went to another ship during that time. Went to the USS San Antonio, and we did pirate hunting in the Gulf of Aden. And that was around that time. You ever seen the movie Captain Phillips?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when all that shit was going on.
Oh,
I was out
that's pretty
there.
cool.
Yeah, and we took the helicopters and we went on board the USS San Antonio, and we were hunting pirates for a month and a half.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, finished up the cruise with HS3, and then moved up to Virginia. From there, we decommissioned HS3 and became HSC9, which is a different type of helicopter type model series, and did a couple of workups on the USS George Bush. Moved from there to HSC 26, which is another helicopter squadron. I was really in love with helicopters, if you can't tell at this point. Yes, helicopters are fucking awesome. But then I did 2 deployments to Bahrain during that time. And all during the while this is going on, this is when I got divorced from my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, and decided to remarry and have another child with my second wife, and that was wild, being gone. That was wild. Yeah. So from there I went down, moved back from Virginia to Jacksonville, Florida. And I started working for for VP 30, which is a training squadron. What we do there is we do P8s. They're the P8 Orion. It's pretty much a Boeing 737, but military grade.
That's pretty funny because I got a tie-in story on the Boeing P8s. I actually worked for Boeing, and I worked on the P8s. I worked for Boeing after I got out of the military. Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
then.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's awesome. But yeah, I worked with them, and I probably accepted some brand new aircraft from you too, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably.
we were the first ones that got it. Yeah. So I worked there for about about 3 years, and ended up making chief right before I left out of there. And I know you were telling me too before you called. You were like, I don't know what chief is, and trust me. Don't think you're out of the loop at all. You're somewhere with the other 85% of normal human beings.
Chief, those are the guys that cook in restaurants, right?
No, they're the guys from Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
Play football.
Got it. Okay, so you were a pro football player.
Yeah. No. So chief is a huge accomplishment in the military, in Navy, because it's done a lot differently than nobody else does it the way the Navy does it with making E7. Usually when you're in any other branch of the military and you make E7, it's slap it on your shoulder and get back to fucking work. For us, we actually get put through about a 6-week INDOC, you could call it. It's pretty much an initiation. And it's actually going on right now too. So this year I'm actually on the other side of it. So I get to see everything and go about things, in the ways that it was done to me last year. But it's wild, man. I mean, I'm talking like crazy shit. It's all a learning process, because in the Navy, being the chief, it's huge. It's a huge responsibility. You got to be able to network. You got to be able to talk to people. You got to be able to lead people in a certain way. And making chief was such a huge accomplishment for me last year, dude. Like, I can't tell you enough. And this past year has been crazy because I moved to the other side of the country, moved from Jacksonville, Florida, all the way out to Bremerton, Washington, where I'm at now. And I'm stationed on board CVN 68, the USS Nimitz. And, I love what I'm doing, man. Love what I'm doing.
And again, that's funny because if I had done my job better and found out you were up in Bremerton, we're like an hour and a half away. I'm in Federal Way.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could have done this in person. This is dumb.
Well, there's always the ability to do it
Yeah,
again, man.
there's
You
always
know?
part two. Because we're really highlighting kind of your military career, but I'm sure that there was a lot of stuff in depth
Oh yeah.
that we could really go deep into.
Yeah.
But you make E7, and like you said, that's a huge deal. In the Army where I came from, it's kind of a platoon sergeant spot. You start to kind of get into a more senior NCO, senior leadership thing.
Yeah.
In the Navy, how did that change your kind of day to day job from
Oh
kind
wow.
of E6 and below, lower enlisted junior NCO to boom, now you're an E7, you're a chief,
Yeah. It
and you're a senior NCO now. What's the difference like with that? To try and
it's
explain that to, the civilian world that doesn't understand.
oh my God. It's to explain it the best is just leadership to the 100th degree. And it's something I don't know if civilians can really understand, because there's always a disconnect with civilians, I think, sometimes, that haven't been in the military. I'm not saying veterans that became civilians. I mean anybody that didn't serve in the military. There's a disconnect there, because there's a care and there's a drive that we have, especially as senior enlisted, that is truly humbling. We are humble servant leaders. That's what we are. We've got kids that come in and they're 18 years old. I was like that. I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but I would imagine, it's somewhere around 60 to 40% is under the age of 21 that's in the military right now. That's just hard
Yeah, it's
facts.
a huge percentage.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and those guys and girls, they're kids. We have to be everything for them. We have to be their chief. We have to be their leader. We have to be their manager. We have to be their supervisor. Sometimes we have to be their friend. Sometimes we have to be their father or mother. Sometimes we have to be that, advocate for them that, we don't even want to be, but we do it because we're charged with it. That's what we have to do. And it's such a hard thing to really put into words and explain, but that the best way to describe what being a chief is those three words: being a humble servant leader. And we are recognized throughout the world as, we don't stop with chiefs, as just training the junior sailors. We are charged with training the junior officers as well, because those guys and gals, they're 22, 23 when they join the military. I'm 32 years old and I'm reporting to this guy. You know what I mean?
That jump to E7, it's a big deal. And something you really brought up that was really interesting is also how you're training these younger generations of officers too.
Yes.
And in
absolutely.
the Army, you would have a platoon sergeant, E7, and then like a PL that would be, an O1 or an O2, fresh out of ROTC and OCS or West Point or whatever it was, and they know nothing about the way the real Army or the real Navy works. And so you become not only responsible for your job, not only responsible for the sailors underneath you, but now you've got to give this officer real world experience and break them in fast and teach them fast, because, our military, we always got to be ready, and this is on the job training. So now you're giving on the job training to this, 22-year-old officer that's fresh out of whatever academy they went to. That's intense.
Oh, it's super intense. There's a huge learning curve for those guys and girls, man. There is. It's because they're put into a place now that they have charge of all of these people, these enlisted people, and those guys have a better idea what the fuck's going on than they do. But somehow they have to find a way to lead these people, and that's kind of where the bridge is the chief, and that's what we do. And we don't tell them what to do, but we make damn sure what needs to be done is definitely pushed by what they are going to put out. You know what I mean? Like we're their helping hand, and sometimes it's direct, sometimes it's indirect, but either way, it's something that we have to do, because we carry the heritage of the Navy with us as chiefs. You know, there's such a long and just wonderful heritage and, you know, just backstory of the military and the Navy in itself, that we carry that with us, and we instill that into them. We help them understand what they're doing, what's important, what's not important, how things work from the junior guys, and make sure they understand it at their level. You know, it's definitely something that's not to be taken lightly. And there's a reason why we put people through 6 weeks of, you know, heartache and pain and just misery, and just, it builds them up. It makes them understand what it is to be a chief and what it means to be in the CPO mess, and how we network and how we work with each other.
So you make E7, and this is kind of taking us into where you're at now in the Navy, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So where are you now? You know, you're up here in Bremerton. What are you doing up here, and what's your plan for the rest of your military career?
Well, so I know I said it before, but I've been in 13 years. You know, my goal is to make it to 20 and see where I'm at, you know, because that's the deciding point if I want to retire or not. I found a beautiful woman, because I am twice divorced. I found a woman out here, and she is the light of my fucking life. She is awesome. She's got 2 kids of her own, but she's fantastic, and I don't want to leave here. I don't. I've only known her now for about 9 months, and like she's just the greatest thing in the world. But this is where I'm going to stay. I'm definitely going to be on board the USS Nimitz for the next about 2.5 years. Right now we're in dry dock, which means the ship is actually out of the water.
Okay.
So it's getting worked on right now. It's getting, you know, overhauled, and, you know, a lot of things are getting redone in there for us to be able to get put back in the water and go and do God's work, you know, coming in the next couple of years. So I'll definitely be making a couple more deployments, at least one. I know that for sure. And then I'll be up for shore duty for the last 4 years. So I don't know what I'll do from there. I might be doing some recruiting, or, you know, doing something, but definitely trying to stay in the area and, you know, finishing it out strong these next couple of years. You know, if I were to pick up senior chief, oh my God, and if the master chief ever becomes available, you know, that would be insane, you know, be an E8 or E9. But I definitely I love what I'm doing now. Right now, being on board the aircraft carrier and seeing the other side, because this is the first time I've ever done this side of the Navy, because I've been on board the ships. I mean, I told you I've been on, you know, 3 aircraft carriers and a LPD, but I never did ship's company. And ship's company is a whole different world compared to what I did, which was squadron life. You know, we just come on board and take over and launch aircraft and do what the fuck we do. But being on ship's company is a whole different world, man. Whole different world. But it's got a lot of great things about it. A lot of great things.
So that's your plan for after that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's kind of talk about some of the other things you've got going on now, because we touched on it real briefly on the intro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got a lot of other passions. You've got a lot of other things that you're working on now too. You know, on top of the fact that you're still active duty Navy.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, you're doing your job for the Navy, for the military. You've got 3, 4, 5 other things going on. So let's kind of talk about you know, some of the other stuff that you've got going on outside of the Navy. You know. Run us through just real quick, and then we'll go into more detail about each one. You know, talk to us about some of the other things that you're passionate about and working on.
Yeah. First thing, of course, is going to be pitch and rudder, man. I mean, the awesome company. I've been lucky to be able to be a part of it. I was just in the right place at the right time in Jacksonville, Florida, and, you know, got with the founder of it, Terry Maynard, who's also you know, a retired senior chief out of the military right now. He just retired a couple of months ago, and senior chief Grady Banks as well. He's another partner in there. But that's definitely one huge passion. Another one is, of course, the JAB advertising, which I'm still getting up off the ground right now, putting things together, trying to get some business ideas and, really be able to put something out there that's, really great for people. But the other huge passion, of course, is Forward to Glory. Forward to Glory is my personal, baby. And I love the idea of being able to bring as much content, valued content as I can to active duty service members to help them get to where they want to be, whatever that is. But those are the big ones right now.
So, let's talk a little bit more about Pitch and Rudder. You're
Sure.
in there. What is Pitch and Rudder? What's the mission statement behind that?
Oh, Pitch and Rudder, man. We do it all. That's the fucking mission statement, man. I mean, we do it all. We do everything from challenge coins to belt buckles. We do bobbleheads. We do coffee. We do T-shirts. We do all cigar cutters. I mean, all types of shit, man. It's all merchandising. We've been breaking out so much. So we started doing this as a Navy thing. Navy challenge coins, especially Chief challenge coins, are huge in the U.S. Navy. We use that. We use challenge coins in a lot of different ways. Challenge coins, originated actually from a pilot, I think during the Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken. It was a pilot that was shot down from the air, didn't have any identification on him, and decided to try and find a base that he could get onto, an American base out there. And, when he was approached, when he tried to get on this base, he was approached and challenged right then and there. And the only thing he had on him was his squadron's challenge coin. And they were able to let him on and, ended up actually saving his life.
So for the people out there that may not know, explain to them kind of what a challenge coin is and what it looks like and kind of some of the different ones that are out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, so challenge coins, they're usually different from what most people see as like re-enlistment coins or, like gifted coins for the most part, which are usually circular in diameter, about 2 inches all the way around. Challenge coins can be big. Usually the ones that we work around are somewhere around 3.5 inches, sometimes bigger. Just depends on what people want, but it can be anything. Some of the great challenge coins that I have right now, we actually did a challenge coin for the Salty Soldier. I don't know if
awesome.
Yeah, you're gonna see it come out real soon. It's fucking awesome. They came up with a great idea, and we were just so fucking excited to be able to get them exactly what they wanted, and they're fucking ecstatic with it. So it's going to be coming out on the Salty Soldier real soon. And big shout out to Forrest Munden and James Shortway for giving us that opportunity to work with them. But yeah, challenge coins can be pretty much anything anybody wants. It's just something that is an heirloom or a perfect description of what you are, who you are, and we like to give that to them because it's made from fantastic metal and it's going to last a lifetime. So that's what we like to give people.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a morale booster type thing too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, units have morale coins and challenge coins and they're crazy, man. Like you just see all kinds of insane designs, all kinds of insane, every unit's kind of got like its motto or whatever it might be. So those are on them. Yeah, they're really awesome. And fuck, man, I need a Badass American Heroes podcast.
Oh, dude, coin. We got you. All you gotta do is say the word, bro.
All right.
That's what we do, and we've got some really cool ones. We're working on with a couple, and that's the thing too is we've started to branch out because originally, of course, we're all Navy, so we started doing Navy coins, Navy challenge coins, and that was our thing for a good year there, where we were just building up the company. We didn't really know how far we would get with it. We didn't know what was going to happen, so we just started doing Navy challenge coins, and then we started branching out into the other things like I was talking about. The coffee, the buckles, the belt buckles are so huge right now too. And then, the bobbleheads. We actually do Funko Pop bobbleheads for Navy
awesome.
Chiefs
That's
and
awesome.
sailors. Yeah, it's wild, right?
I'm a huge Funko nerd, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. And we do cigar cutters. We did the spinners, the fidget spinners too.
That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. We did it all, man. And the one thing that we definitely wanted to do after we really started getting into it was we wanted to branch out. We wanted to show what we've been able to do with our with our challenge coins in the Navy and all of the other good stuff that we've done too, and break it out into the other branches. So just recently too, we've really gotten into Army. Army's been huge. They've been hitting us up a lot. They love doing huge fucking belt buckles. And then we've got a couple of challenge coins that we're doing for them right now. And even further, we've been branching out into different companies, the Salty Soldier being one of them, but we also have real estate investors and stuff like that, want to give out coins to people as they, move up in levels and stuff like that. So we're starting to do stuff for them too. And it's just, it's taking off into different avenues than, we ever really imagined it would at the beginning.
That's awesome. Those are some really great things. And, now I can say I've got a guy. I got a guy for that,
Hell yeah, you do. And it's so funny. It's so funny you say that, because I don't know if you ever watch or get on the Salty Soldier page at all.
Yeah, on Facebook all the time.
They're fucking awesome. They do some funny shit. They do some really cool stuff. And they got over 500,000 followers. So what's funny is the other day, James Shortway, who's one of the founders of Salty Soldier, he's talking about, and it's funny you say that, and I got a story. So he was on there, and he was on with Patrick Schrepler, who is an awesome dude too. He's in Forward to Glory. He's in all the other stuff that we're doing too, Salty Soldier stuff. But James Shortway and Patrick Schrepler were going back and forth, and I caught it, and I was like, oh shit, I got to say what's up, man, because I know these guys, and I put my little comments on their little Facebook live shit, like, hey, what's up, fuckers, and just talking shit to them, and they actually start talking about me. And it's funny that you say that, because James Shortway was like, man, this Charles Mund, he fucking knows everybody. He fucking networks like a fucking crazy person. And that's what he's good at. I know he's fucking good at that. But it's so funny you say that, because now people come up to me all the time, and even at my job on the ship, and they're like, man, I really need to find somebody that can make a fucking coin rack in the shape of an M16. And I'm like, I got a guy for that. Like every little fucking thing, I'm poking my head in. I'm like, I got a guy for that. I know somebody. I got this. So no, it's just funny that you said that. It really was.
That's great.
But yes, use us. We will hook you the fuck up.
Awesome. I think I see a Badass American Heroes podcast challenge coin in the future.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, guys, that is where we're going to cut this episode for tonight. This is going to be part one of the interview with Chuck. Part two, you guys know the routine by now, is going to drop Wednesday morning for you. So make sure you come back, check it out. We're going to continue to dive into Chuck's life, his career in the Navy as a chief petty officer, and his entrepreneurial side, running a couple businesses and helping veterans transition and grow their businesses, and using social media to grow your business, and kind of the struggle of trying to figure out where exactly you belong in this life. We're going to get into all of it with Chuck in part two. So if you're on the entrepreneurial side, I'm trying to talk here, guys. It's late. I've had way too many vodkas tonight, and it's not working with me. So hang in there with me while we get through the rest of this. If you're on the entrepreneurial side and you're interested in business and social media and marketing and that kind of stuff, check back in Wednesday morning. Listen to part 2 with Chuck. We're going to go deep into all that stuff, and Chuck is going to tell us a little bit more about the stuff that he's involved in as far as Pitch and Rudder and Forward to Glory and his advertising company and kind of all those things that he's got going on. So excited to have you guys hear that. Make sure you go follow Chuck. Find him on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram. Specifically, go look for Pitch and Rudder, the company that Chuck works with, making challenge coins and memorabilia and bobbleheads and stuff like that, graphic design, all that stuff. Go find them on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Pitch and Rudder. You can also, if you're in Facebook, get into the group Forward to Glory. It's for transitioning active duty military to help them kind of transition out. It's also for veterans and entrepreneurs to help each other work together and support each other and teach each other and learn from each other. So if you fit into any of those categories, go check that out. Join the group. I think there's a couple questions you got to answer, and then boom, you're in and you're ready to go. So do that, and of course, make sure you come back Wednesday for part 2 with Chuck. Now we're going to jump into a part of the show that's very special to me, our Badass American Hero of the Week. Every week, I bring you guys a service member that's been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. And, a brief, just real quick, down and dirty background on the Medal of Honor for those of you that may not know exactly what it is. It's not just a video game. The Medal of Honor is the highest award that a service member can be awarded for valor. There's only been so many of them awarded. It goes through the president, it goes through Congress, it goes through a huge, line of people that have to approve it. And it is the highest honor that you can absolutely ever receive as a soldier, Marine, airman, sailor, Coast Guardsman, any of that stuff. This is as high as it gets. So I like to put a little bit of respect and honor into this part of the show, because to me, these are people that really, they earned it, they deserve it, they deserve our eternal thanks. So let's get into it tonight. Tonight's Badass American Hero of the Week comes to us from the Civil War, and it is Corporal Allen P. Abner. Corporal Allen comes to us from Company K of the United States Army, the 39th Illinois Infantry Division, and he was born in Woodford County, Illinois, entered service in Bloomington, Illinois, and the date of issue for this award is 5/12/1865, and it took place on 2 April 1865 in Petersburg, Virginia. Now, guys, again, this is the Civil War. This is over 100 years ago, well over 100 years ago, 150 years ago. So these citations, they're different than what you would read for kind of a more modern day citation. So this is the citation that's listed on the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's website, and it reads, Corporal Allen, Company K, 39th Illinois Infantry, at Petersburg, Virginia, on 2 April 1865. And it says, for gallantry in the charge of the volunteer storming party. So I can only imagine, being a soldier during the Civil War, and your company commander coming up and say, hey, we need volunteers. You guys got to go storm this fort, and volunteering and just absolutely kicking ass while you do it. Extreme gallantry in combat and in the face of the enemy, storming an enemy stronghold. That's never an easy thing. And so thank you, Corporal Allen P. Abner of the 39th Illinois Infantry, for your service, for your sacrifice. We are so thankful for it, and we are better for it. Guys, this is the part of the show where I tell you all to not do stupid shit. If you're in a dark place and you're having bad thoughts and you're depressed and you're lonely and you're sad and you're mad and you're angry and you're feeling all the emotions all at once, I tell you to reach out. And I'm going to get real with the people that are listening to the podcast at home. I've been in that place the last 30 days or so. And I did exactly what I asked you guys to do. I reached out to some of my brothers that I served with. And, I told them what was going on. I told them I was struggling. I was having a hard time. And they came through for me. And it is a testament not only to the men that I served with and the men that I am so proud to call my brothers and my friends, but it's a testament that this stuff works. It's not me just out here, preaching a message to you guys. It's the best way to deal with life's pressures and stress and depression and anxiety when you feel like nothing in the world is going right. That's what your brothers and your sisters are there for. And so I'm going to say it again because it works. And, you know, it's the real deal. There are people out there that give more than a fuck about you. They give all the fucks. And they want to help you. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you happy. But they can't do anything for you if you don't ask for help. So if you are out there and you're going through a tough patch, your demons are putting their heads up, and you're unable to deal with it, and you see the walls closing in, you feel it closing in, reach out, man. Grab that lifeline that you've got with Facebook, with Instagram, with Twitter, with a cell phone. You've got the connections out there. You've got the phone numbers in your phone. If you don't have anything else, reach out to me here at the podcast, and I am more than happy to get you plugged in where you need to be, so that you can get whatever it is you need. You know, if you're on Facebook, go join the Drinking Bros community and get plugged into that, because there's somebody in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have a group specifically designed. It's called Vigilant Guard, to help people when they're struggling. And, you know, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help and for saying, you know, hey, I can't do it all on my own. Nobody can. Nobody expects you to. So reach out for help. Go to your brothers and sisters and save yourself, man. Because nobody else can do it for you. We can only help you. But you have to take that first step to making things better and to making the situation better. Isolating yourself and pulling yourself away from your friends and your family and the people that care about you, that's not the way to do it. So reach out, you know. That's my spiel on that. And if you need to reach out and you don't have anybody else, like I said, reach out to us here at the podcast. Get on the Instagram, shoot me a DM. You can find us on Instagram at Badass American Heroes Podcast. It comes right up, man. My phone is on 24/7. Shoot me a DM. I'll get you help. I'll get you plugged in where you need to be. If you're on Facebook, you can just search Badass American Heroes Podcast on Facebook. That comes right up. Shoot me a message on there. I'll get it. Shoot me an email, badassamericanheroes@yahoo.com or at gmail.com, your preference. You know, I'm here for the people. I'm here for you guys, for my brothers and sisters, and you know, anybody else that might be going through a tough time. I don't give a fuck if you served or not. You know, it hits us all in different places and at different times. So reach out and take the first step to saving your own life. You know, that's it on that, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. This has been a great one. I know it's been a long time coming. People have been asking me when the next show's coming. It's here. It's fucking here, guys. Part 2 drops Wednesday. Get on it. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a 4-star review. You know, leave whatever review you want to leave, but give me some constructive criticism to work on. Go out there, like the Instagram page, like the Facebook page, share it, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your mom, tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, whatever it is. Tell somebody. And make sure you come back for part 2 on Wednesday morning. Guys, that's it. This is the Badass American Heroes Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. Until next time, be safe and fuck ISIS. Yes, let's go.